and diverse array of that chemistry. And we can use those for human purposes, but enzymes are fragile. So once you take them out of a cell where they evolved to be, they no longer work. And that's where we come in. At Entropic Materials, our bio-inspired nanoprotectant technology stabilizes enzymes so we can use them for more human purposes. And we're using that to make self-degrading plastics. By embedding the enzymes that break down the plastics directly inside of them, we can enable them to self-degrade without microplastics. And we can hit all of the key value props that are needed around scalability, drop-in usage levels, and accelerate that degradation to be 98% faster. And that can be done in warm water bath or compost. And we're partnering with brands and plastic manufacturers to unlock totally new types of packaging that can self-degrade, so that brands no longer have to have their face on waste, and we can expand the types of products that are available to ease the regulatory frustrations and have a better end of life. I have an incredible team, we've scaled, and I have wonderful government and private partners, and we'd love to have you as well. So please reach out if you'd like to pilot or talk further. Thank you.
I'm co-founder of Blixt from Sweden. So electricity generation and use have undergone a complete transformation, but the big roadblocker is actually our outdated grid infrastructure. It was built and designed over a century ago using mechanical components, and they cannot adapt to peak loads from electric vehicles or renewables. We have the solution to transform this static infrastructure into a real-time dynamic network. We are the first company in the world to convert mechanical switchgear into digital smart devices, allowing the grid or any other electricity consumer to respond to real-time events. And our latest breakthrough in battery technology makes it possible to connect any source with any load, AC or DC, and while we eliminate conversion losses and extend the battery lifetime by up to 80%. Our uniqueness is backed by 48 patents, and the technology can actually be implemented throughout the energy landscape, from residential to industrial and even e-mobility. We have carefully selected two key launch markets. One is battery-backed EV charging. We recently signed a contract with Havells, India's largest OEM, and we have interest from Mitsubishi Electric and others to ease the stress from the grid and implement demand response. And secondly, backup power monitoring and control of critical infrastructure, where we engage with Ericsson, Vertiv, world leaders in telco base stations and data centers. We have sold out the first series and are now ramping up in volume production to meet the increased demand. But the full market potential is worth a massive $500 billion. So we aim to reach at least 100 million revenue in the next 5 years. In our team, we have experts from power electronics, software, myself, I've been 20 years as entrepreneur. And not the least, we are currently fundraising, and I'm happy to announce in the round of 5 million that we have a lead investor from Third Derivative on board. So please join us to empower full software control of electricity. Thanks.
Join the seaweed revolution and help fight climate change and ensure food security. My name is Michael Williamson. I am CEO and co-founder of Cascadia Seaweed. We grow seaweed in the ocean and turn it into regenerative biostimulant for farmers. So what's the problem? Farmers are under incredible pressure from climate change, and regulations are causing them to use less harsh synthetic fertilizers. Consumers are demanding more resilient food systems. The Earth is covered 70% by oceans. Why can't we find a solution there? Well, we can. We build and seed farms in the ocean We cultivate seaweed and we turn it into regenerative biostimulants. Biostimulants are a $3 billion market. 1/3 of that is seaweed. We grow our seaweed in the ocean in partnership with First Nations communities in Canada and in southern Alaska. As the seaweed grows, it turns the ocean into a better ecosystem, providing habitat and improving the ocean. Biostimulants applied on land with farmers causes better crop growth, more healthy plants, the requirement for less synthetic fertilizer, more abiotic and biotic stress tolerance. The biostimulant market is growing and it can be addressed with seaweed-based biostimulants. We have a product in market now and we're working on developing new products undergoing testing on row crops to increase their efficiency and effectiveness. Seaweed's been around for twice as long as land plants, and therefore it's developed more bioactive compounds, and we can leverage that for our food security. We have many advantages, including a young, solid team of engineers and scientists, our First Nations partners, social license, and an awesome path to market. So I challenge you to join the seaweed revolution and help us grow more food in a resilient system. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about 4 infrastructure challenges in climate and what we can do about it. Transport is going all electric, so we need faster chargers faster. But that's really challenging when, on average, the US grid is 40 years old. The consequences of which is that grid outages cost $150 billion in damages to the US economy each year. And if that wasn't enough, we're also trying to go all renewables. Which poses the question, can we truly have it all? What does our grid of the future look like? We at Electric Fish believe it's possible, and it starts with our 350 Squared, a state-of-the-art battery-integrated fast charger backed by 3 US patents. It's rapidly deployable, being able to be integrated with grid-constrained sites in just minutes without trenching. It doesn't require upgrades, saving potentially years of deployment time. It's resilient with battery storage, being able to provide meaningful backup power for EV charging and for their sites. And it's also powered by software to ensure dynamism and integrating more renewables into the grid mix. We've de-risked our technology with key marquee customers like the National Park Service and IBEW, the nation's largest electrical union, which we're actually expanding into a larger partnership to develop more forest development programs to create high-paying jobs in disadvantaged communities all across America. We are hot off the heels of a manufacturing grant we won from the CEC, $1.7 million, to ramp up production of our next-gen system shipping Q2 of next year. And we've already sized a pipeline of $16 million with fleets on both our buy and lease models. We've done all of this with a very lean and diverse team with expertise from places like BMW and NASA and recognition from Caltech and CNBC, among others. We've also run very lean, doing a lot with very little since the beginning 4 years ago. We've only spent less than $2 million, and we're positioning next for our Series A, which we'll be announcing shortly, to complement asset financing that we've secured. Electric Fish is the ideal climate solution from both a mitigation and adaptation standpoint. We're very uniquely positioned by 2028 to build a very robust and distributed network of our assets, which will form a utility of the future, a network of virtual power plant assets to deliver massive impact to communities in the form of miles delivered to EVs, but also the carbon abatement potential, reaching 0.5 gigaton, and also 1.8 gigawatt hours of distributed storage to support grid reliability. We're building the energy future we all deserve, and hope you'll join us. Thanks.
What an incredible group of entrepreneurs. Thank you all for being here. Before I turn to Gabriel and Shilpi, it's time for all of you to take out your phones and vote for which startup you believe will have the greatest impact on accelerating our clean economy. So go ahead, take out your phone, open up the event app, and go to this session, Accelerate at Verge. Once you click on that, you'll see a little button there called Polls, and vote for the startup. if someone's having trouble accessing it next to you, please help them out. All right. Shilpi and Gabriel, thank you both so much for being here today. Gabriel, let's start with you. Prelude Ventures invests and supports early stage startups with the greatest potential to mitigate climate change. So, of the technologies that you've evaluated recently, which excite you most at this moment?
Well, first off, thanks for having me here, and I agree. I think that was a fantastic set of presentations, so maybe a quick little round of gratitude for the entrepreneurs who just I'm going to answer your question in two different buckets. One, like things that we've invested in, and one, the things that we are looking to invest in. Like on the investment side, we're really excited by some of the really recent progress on companies and technologies in the hard to abate segments. Hydrogen is making leaps and bounds right now. Steel, decarbonizing steel, which a bunch of people have spoken about on various stages. Cement is a tougher one. We're seeing progress there, but we'd love to see a lot more. Those are some of the things where we've seen long duration energy storage. Those are some of the things where we've seen a lot of progress already, and we're excited for what the next few years are coming. But some places where we're looking to invest in the next few years, everybody's been reading the press about Canada's fire season. We all live in California, so fire technology is a big place for us. Buildings, really hard to decarbonize, both existing building stock and especially new construction. And then we also are really excited about aviation and how to decarbonize aviation, either alternate modes of hydropower flight or just sustainable aviation fuel. And I was excited to see a bunch of those things on the program here.
Fantastic. You're looking all over the map.
We think climate's everywhere. For us, climate is everything. So yeah, we look everywhere for big, scalable solutions.
Thank you, Gabriel. Shilpi, let's turn to you. So third sphere, states that your solutions for the planet often don't look like climate solutions, that you're just simply better, faster, and cheaper. Tell us what that looks like in practice.
Yeah, third fear is funny. There's a lot of fears driving sustainability and adoption. I mean, I think the motivation that we look at is in a lot of these systems, big scalable, hard-to-abate sectors, you're going to have a lot of stakeholders. Some of them might be extremely passionate, are in this room, are decision makers, are driving for like total industry transformation and change. And there's going to be folks that are in that stakeholder map that don't want to change their behaviors, that don't want to have a 20 to 50% markup on the new solution, aren't willing to go through new regulations or compliance considerations. And I think what we're looking for often in this stakeholder map for each sector we look at or each company we look at is if there's someone who's blocking it, like a passionate, blocker to change or to clean or to sustainable or to alternatives, that this solution could still get through that decision process. Because selling into these sectors is hard. Industrial adoption and commercial adoption are kind of notoriously difficult, especially when it comes to hardware or integrated systems. And so the companies who've seen the most momentum and the most successful are the ones where they can sort of, against all odds, be able to penetrate a new sector and get scalable adoption.
Fantastic. So follow up on that, from the pitches we just saw today, what stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see these short pitches. I mean, it's nice a little bit to not have to make the decision because, I really think more in like, what are the techno-economics of this? Should this exist? Compared to alternatives, like, can I do so I'm trying to like hold my concrete research and my seaweed, you're trying to understand how these companies kind of line up against what the actual norms in these sectors are. Something I think about a lot when I'm looking at these pitches is how they compare to capitalization. So can you get financed in this project, in this building project as a geothermal option? Will you get financed the same way? Will you have the same access to debt or your payback on your loans? Can people underwrite on the same terms that they're used to? And so that's a little bit of how I'm looking at some of these companies. It's not just the potential impact, it's like how hard is it going to be able to get into that option to be the right solution for the sector.
Definitely. I'd love to dig into that, but we're running out of time. So Gabriel, what struck you the most from the startups itself?
Well, I think about companies a lot in the same way, Shilpi, that you just said. But I actually took notes while they were presenting so that I could actually think of something to say. And I have nothing negative to say about any of those 5 entrepreneurs. So what I'm going to talk about is the two companies that just resonated with me for something that I'm really excited about. One, carbon limit, going after concrete and cement. That is a huge problem. It's really hard. It's really big. It's a tough business to win in, and so I really was excited to hear that pitch and that entrepreneur. And then also bedrock energy. I love geothermal. I love drilling. I love hard problems, and like taking that from like out in the wild somewhere to some residential apartment or city block. That seems really exciting to me as well. So maybe it's the first two. Maybe I was just suffering from the first two bias or whatever that's properly called. But those were the two that I really resonated with.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. She'll be gonna pick him on the spot.
Pick one?
Yeah, let's start with what you voted for today and why.
Yeah, I think the one that I want to dig into more is electric fish. I think we met 4 years ago, and so I've seen how hard something can be to come up with this meets all 4 infrastructure challenges and see them grow the solution, have something that's ready to scale, be able to get the grants to be able to really scale up manufacturing and make sure it's a solution that's an option for so many EV charging infrastructure systems that really don't have storage, integration, the same capability and the economics that justify it. So I think electric fish will win my vote today.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for your feedback and for your votes. Before we reveal the results today, I'd like to first announce our People's Choice Award winner, Winlift, who received over 22,000 votes on our feature story, the 35 climatech startups to watch on GreenBiz.com. So congrats to Winlift. As the winner of People's Choice, they received a guaranteed spot in Accelerate and a shadow on the stage of their socials. So congrats again. Now, I want to highlight that being on this stage, being a competitor in Accelerate really matters. Let's take a look at the progress of the IP technologies from when they won on this stage back in 2015.
Hi, I'm Brad Burkle, CEO of EIP Technologies. EIP systems bring the benefits of the grid to remote communities and industrial facilities in the form of constant regulated 480-volt power generated safely from local wind and sun with integrated fast-charging chemical-free storage and transformer-free power flow. EIP systems will operate during extreme weather events or fires at the smallest carbon footprint you will find anywhere. We pitched out and won the Accelerate competition in 2015. At that time, as two founders had just filed initial patents, put about $30K in the company, and were working out of a garage. Today, we've grown to a team of 7. We built 5 machines. We've got 12 patents. We put about $900,000 in the company, and are working out of a much roomier 11,000 square foot facility. We've just placed a production EIP system on our lab rooftop, and we're talking with prospective customers about initial deployments. We're also looking soon to raise $4 million to support our future growth. For us, the main benefit of Accelerate was access to all the relationships that helped us qualify use cases and develop our partner ecosystem more quickly. To you presenters, I wish you all success in today's competition.
Huge congrats to Brad and the EIP team. So awesome to see their recent success since being on the stage. Okay, everyone, we have the results. The winner of Accelerate at Verge 23 is, drumroll please, Carbon Limit. Congratulations, Carbon Limit. Serious congratulations to all the startups who pitched today. Gabriel and Sophie for joining the stage. Back to you, Sarah.
It is hard to believe that we are almost at the end of the keynote program. I want to thank everybody for sharing your time and your passions and your thoughts this week. It's truly been a treat for me to have so many inspiring conversations. I hope you all have had great connections, and I encourage you to keep those conversations going. GreenBiz has a peer network that you should take a look at if you're interested in continuing to collaborate with other people. I also want to thank the GreenBiz team for making this event look seamless. There's so much work that goes into an event this size, so thank you so much. And I also want to give a thank you to the Jazz Mafia, who've been joining us on the main stage all week. Once again, I would love to call out to our sponsors who really understand that in order to forward climate action, it takes collaboration. I'd love to give a special shout out to our foundational sponsors, Deloitte and Hitachi and NextEra. And I also would love to just note how many amazing community partners we have, convening partners that have been creating content, that have been promoting this event, that have been bringing their communities, and our sustainability partners who have been doing things like making sure your travel is net zero, who are taking plastic out of the environment for every attendee here, who are offsetting our electricity use, and are also ensuring that this is a zero waste event. So, as noted, we're just about to have our final conversation. I want to also note that we're going a little bit long today, but I promise you it is worth it for this last conversation. And after this, we'll have one more session, and it's going to be unlike other sessions. This is going to be an interactive session focused around making sense of what's happened during the 3 days that we are here, so I hope you enjoy that. We've tried a lot of new things this year, and I would love feedback on that as well. So please take the survey. We do read all of our survey results. We do respond to that. Case in point, you may have noted that today's program started at 9:30. That's because we heard from all of you that a 9 a.m. start time was not okay after the after dark party. So that's the type of people's choice things that we pay attention to. Please let us know how it goes. And with that, I am delighted to welcome our final panel of Verge 23 on the main stage, led by my friend and colleague, Sherry Jatoki, Senior Director of Startup Programming.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Jatoki, Senior Director of Startup Programs at GreenBiz. Good to see everyone for this final conversation on our keynotes. You got something? All right. Well, we're really excited for this conversation. We've heard a lot this week about how we're at this inflection point where the decisions we make today will really be affecting the speed and scale of our transition to a cleaner economy. So I'm really excited for this conversation today to be talking about how we can collaborate and accelerate new climate technologies. Mike, you're the former CTO of Meta, now launched your own nonprofit Carbon to Sea initiative, as well as Scale Capital, VC firm. Sophie, you yourself are a startup founder and also launched the wildly successful CTVC platform, as well as your own VC firm as well, Planetary Capital. So let's get right to it. Okay. Scaling new climate technologies is hard, right? It can take a lot of stakeholders, partnerships, funders. Can you talk about how you think about implementing new climate technologies and especially the collaboration needed to scale it? Mike, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think the first myth I want to bust is we can't build things quickly. So, in 2011, I commissioned our first data center at Meta. 10 years later, we had 28 buildings in 18 locations all over the world. So this is much more than a 10x scale in less than 10 years. And that's because it was like mission critical for us. It was imperative for the business. And so I think that's the key to these collaborations, is they have to be win-win, right? It can't be on good faith. It has to be, as a business owner, I want to do this because this is good for me. And as a startup or others, they want to do it because it's good for them. I think I can give lots of examples. The one specifically in the climate space is obviously the Frontier Advanced Market Commitment. Now that Meta and Alphabet and others came together, set $1 billion in pre-purchasing carbon removals. That has spurned an entire industry of companies now that can out there and say, like, I have customers for my product. Now, what's in it for the companies? In any new technological revolution, I saw this in mobile, I saw this in web, I saw this in AI. What happens is, as soon as everyone's caught on to this change is happening, there is several, usually massive shortages in key technologies and key supplies. So outside of climate in the AI world, if you start a company, like, good luck buying GPUs. They're backordered for a long time, they're going to pay through the nose to get them. All the people who are ahead of the game have them, and so they've got a multi-year head start. When you talk about the Advanced Market Commitment and Frontier, if you're a big company now and want to do verified carbon removals, you're gonna have to wait 5 years. Like all the suppliers are sold out thanks to Frontier. Now you're in the back of the line or you're gonna pay $3. So the real reason for an enterprise to partner is so that they get early access to the technologies and they can take advantage of it faster than their competitors do.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Sophie.
Mike said it well in terms of getting all of this steel actually in the ground, the accelerants to get us there. I'd say anecdotally, from our vantage point, tracking all of the deal activity that's been happening over the past 4-ish years or so at this point with CTBC, we're going from a couple bullet points on a vlog, right, of the deals that were individually getting done back in, let's call it kind of early, mid 2020s, through to now, folks start scrolling pages and pages and pages, right, just to go through these early, mid, kind of somewhat late stage venture and private equity funding that's happening in climate. And we could write a whole adjacent newsletter with a similar number of bullets of these corporate partnerships and important deployments that frankly we wish we had the space to be writing about as well. And we'll share some more about that, I think, later on in this panel.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you are, your investors, you're always thinking about the risks and opportunities of any given investment. How should, the corporations that are in the room, how should they be thinking about risks and opportunities when piloting any of these new technologies when they're able to? Sophie?
Good question. I think if there's one thing that I'd like folks to take away, of course, coming from the much kind of early stage, pre-seed and seed stage vantage point that we like to spend a lot of time at Planetier, it's if you're a corporate in the room, there are ample partners of startups out there that are looking for you and that want to meet with you. These solutions exist today in a way that maybe they didn't not so long ago, and it's some of the best and brightest in the world that are frankly putting their job or coming out of the lab and really taking that leap to put this science and technology and business models into action. They want to meet with you, and there's a whole robust ecosystem that has been there for a long time, but has particularly accelerated over the past, let's call it kind of 5-6 years, to help mature these businesses to a point where they really are ready to start talking that revenue language and dive into some of these partnerships together. So I'd say it's different this time, right? We've been kind of beating on this drum for some time. This isn't CleanTech 1.0 days. These businesses are here. They're robust. Of course, the cream will rise to the top here, and there's still some serious diligence and some thoughts around who's going to be with us for a long period of time. But the founders are out there, and they want to meet with you. So that's why I get energized coming to events like this, right, where we've got that neat mixing and mingling of some of the buyers and some of the solution-oriented folks, such that this isn't just a transition versus disruption debate. We can kind of find that messy middle and do that together.
Yeah, Mike, anything to add?
No, I think Sophie nailed it. There is the facilities to support these companies, from growth equity to infrastructure financing to DOE loans, and I'll tell you the difference between a company that's like, we've got this great idea, we hope it works, and I've got an LOI, I've got a partnership with a major manufacturer, I've got an off-take agreement. If we build it, they will buy it at this price, we will both make money. You've now got a ton of investors who are going to be fighting to get into that company because that's going to grow. And again, these businesses, this is the other difference of CleanTech 1.0 is we've got this technological scale now that we didn't have before, that the pitch is when we get to scale, we're cheaper than your existing solution. We are better, cheaper, and that's why you're going to go with us. So you're really just trying to get through that beginning phase where it's okay, maybe at pilot scale you're not there, there's some technical risk in others. But once we get to a commercial scale plant, I now have an advantage over my competitors because I got in on this technology and I now have access to it in a way that others don't. So I think that's the key this time around.
Yeah. So do you want to add anything about the capital stack? That Mike kind of touched on that. You talked about that a lot.
Even if you hadn't asked, I was going to jump into that anyway. So yeah, these words that we love so much, the climate capital stack. I don't know if, I feel like I joke I need a tattoo or something that says the climate capital stack. I say this so frequently, and I'm glad some of you are picking up on this with us. But the point being that y'all aren't alone. Whether you're the startups that are innovating, the corporates that are purchasing, the funders that are funding, there's many, many layers to this complex ecosystem of folks that are specifically structured to underwrite and to take off some of those risks at certain points in that innovation to deployment maturation scale. And so we've talked about a couple of these players already, venture funders, right, the corporate off-takers, but we're
20 different slices of this cake kind of in between, be that non-dilutive funding, catalytic capital, grants, some of these offtake agreements, right? We're talking about some of that venture debt, lots of things that we've heard about through other conversations earlier today and other days here. But point being, it's a language that sometimes differs percentage by percentage across these different tranches. And my observation is that the more that we can learn each other's language, we realize the more similarities that we actually have between these stages that don't need to be so much of a leap to kind of cross the chasm off. The main language that works for everybody is just revenue. And as Mike was saying, when these pilots come out and a founder can go back to the investors that they're trying to raise equity capital from, or some of those venture debt providers, and we can talk about real tangible things like LOIs, or even better, some realized kind of pilot revenue, the game changes. And dramatically, and in a way that really shapes the fate of lots of these founders. I'd say bringing it back to the data, we're tracking all of these funding rounds that are happening. We all know that we're in a little bit of we're in a real kind of macro slump at the moment, particularly for these founders that are raising equity capital at the Series B stage or beyond. That's fallen off a cliff. I don't need to be the one to tell all of you that are kind of feeling that yourselves. It's the deals that get through are the ones where they have a pilot or some kind of partnership with these corporates, and also ideally have some version of a partnership with government entities, be that all the way through to the LPO or something kind of much earlier maturation stage. So those two things are really core unlocks for these businesses. And I know some of you have the keys to the kingdom for those founders out there, and I just want you to know what an important position that you're in for the fate of some of these companies.
Yeah, and speaking about that, the successful ones that are getting through, can you talk a little bit about successful corporate startup partnerships that you've seen, as well as maybe some that haven't been as successful, or maybe some lessons learned? Mike, do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're early on in this, but you've seen a bunch of important announcements. Microsoft doing a power purchase agreement with Helion, which is a fusion provider by 2028. You've got Dow Chemical, announcing that they're going to do an SMR plant somewhere in the Gulf Coast, small modular reactor to co-site with one of their chemical plants. That's a huge deal for all of these providers, and that's the sort of highest risk start of the segment. You have plenty of other things happening in green chemicals, in battery storage, and others where people are doing these agreements and getting them done. I'd like to hear what Sophie has to add.
I mean, you're giving us a chance to kind of talk some of our own book here, so maybe I'll do this anonymously. But think of this really early stage company that's able to directly measure the emissions that are happening in a commercial and industrial heating and cooling setting, make automated adjustments to what's going on, and often those natural gas powered boiler systems save so much money from those energy cost savings that then the building managers look amazing and want to reinvest that capital into going even further in reducing those direct emissions. So it's kind of a win-win, but it's all based on that sticky piece, which is saving money and kind of creating that pocket of capital in order to go one step further and to really deepen these partnerships. This is a company that's about a year old or so, and it's working with some of the Fortune 100 banks and biggest REITs in New York City already, and it just frankly makes everybody look really good. So it's not so much the stage or the age of the company at this point, so much as finding these early partnerships and kind of co-creating together, I'd say.
Yeah, much of the deals we do, this is a deal we did together, are so early, so a lot of their deals aren't out, so we can't actually talk about them in detail. But I'll give an example that talks about a trend that I think is really important. So there's a company we funded called Dioxycle, and they have an electrochemical cell that produces ethylene. It's a $200 billion commodity market. They're getting a lot of traction with customers. And one of the reasons why is they are able to basically be profitable at a 30x smaller scale. So they have a technology advantage that happened with work out of Stanford and allows you to build a much smaller plant, a much smaller facility, piece by piece, Lego bricks like we did the web infrastructure, and allow you to take a lot less risk because you're not building these mega projects, hoping it all pencils when it actually is done. You can build something small, see that it works, start getting profit, and go from there. So they are sort of overwhelmed with interest for that. We're seeing this similarly in a lot of these things where how quick is your time to value? In buildings, in chemicals, and others, and when you can provide these small solutions, small in terms of total capital outlay, that get profitable very quickly, like demand is outstripping supply.
Which may be kind of riffing off, this isn't all glass half full, even though maybe that's how we sometimes like to think about it, but for some of these examples where the partnerships haven't worked out, or recently, particularly in a non-zero interest rate phenomenon type of environment, not currently penciling, those tend to be these massive upfront capital outlays, and I don't need to tell you guys what some of those are. You're reading the news and you're seeing them yourselves, right? This is where we're maybe reliant on many, many years of subsidy or at least zero interest phenomenon kind of conditions in order for the economics to pencil. Mike and I get excited about some of these businesses, or frankly about businesses, period, that you don't have to squint to kind of look at the economics.
Yeah, makes sense. So as we're wrapping up Verge and our final kind of keynote conversation here, we think about, when we meet back here in a year, what would you like to see in this community? What would you like to see prioritized?
I'd be excited to talk names about the company that we just described.
Yeah.
Other specifics.
I'll tell you what, rather than us talking about this, I want you to have a handful of people in the audience here describing all the awesome pilots they're doing with these amazing startups building great technologies, and how that's going to transform their businesses, how their CFOs are happy with them, because this pencils in the long run, and that's really the game we have to get into to make this scale.
Well said. Deepen, widen the sophisticated capital stack, and a large part of that comes from corporates and from these partnerships. Here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thanks for sticking with us, folks. I know we're right down to the bitter end.
Yes, thank you for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you.